Hello. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to the 17th Regional Symposium by the Singapore chapter of PMI. So we're glad to see so many people here and virtually as well. And we have distinguished guests, speakers, and PMI Asia Pacific, Ben Breen, Ye Woon, City, and our past chair of the PMI board, Tony Appleby, will be here as well, or if he's not already here. So welcome. We have a lineup of speakers here that will certainly bring forth a lot of knowledge and learning. So last year I was standing here on this spot and the crowd was not as big as now since we are opening up. I think for the future, we'll see more and more physical events and larger events. And you can never do away with the physical interaction, correct? Right? We have lived in the virtual world for 2 years. Now, I don't mean that virtual online is no good. I like that because you can do a lot of things while you are in a meeting, while you're attending a conference, such as reading your emails, everything. But when you are here physically, you have to collaborate. I mean, you have to actually concentrate and look at what is being presented, as well as you share information with your peers, network, etc. So I think the future is one of collaboration where the digital and the physical world will come together. We are in a situation where there's an acceleration, digital acceleration, and we cannot stop the train. And certainly it's heartening to see that PMI Global is embracing this as well with the numerous events, whether online or the numerous systems that they have put in place to make things a lot easier for us as project managers. So we are in, today's theme is towards green transformation in project management, and sustainability and resiliency is very important. They are the two keywords. We are in a situation when we have a lot to do, but we have a lack of resources. And we need to actually sustain. So it's not just about financial sustainability, it's about operational sustainability, about time-wise, about meeting stakeholders' requirements, etc. So we all need to focus on things that are important, not just monetary. So in my course of work, I've seen this a lot in two areas. One is the energy industry, which I have a few stakeholders, and stakeholders are actually talking about sustainable ways of delivering energy, your wind farms, your solar farms, etc. So all these are important because they form the next generation of power. Singapore is embarking on the green project regards to the vehicles. So by 2030, you will have EVs, and there's no longer petrol vehicles being imported in. So the landscape will be very different in a few years' time, in 5-10 years' time. And we as project managers needs to embrace that, our thinking. So in the course of today's and tomorrow's conference, you'll see a lot of presentations on thought leadership, on how to change the human mindset, to succeed. Because it's not just about technical things. So I come from IT industry. I work in industrial companies before, construction, mining, maritime. And I see that there's a bridge being needed between your functional role as well as the domains, the business domains. So these 2 days is important because we are going to unleash the human power, your mindset, to change so that you can actually look towards new business models, enable new ways of working for your organizations, for yourself, to be successful. And the other thing I see besides the energy industry, which I've been involved in, the transformation of energy industry, is the digitization. Because one of the things of going green is the digitization. Okay, to save the world, so we digitize all our assets, our information. okay, onto IT systems, storage systems. And as part of digitization, to maximize the use of this digital information, we need to have processes. So that is where the digital transformation comes in, the smart of everything comes in. You know, the smart city, Singapore, since 2015, when the World Economic Forum coined the Industry Revolution 4.0, has been coming up with the industry transformation roadmaps, and a lot of companies and industries and countries, they are embarking on this digital transformation, and more so yourself. So project management is a life skills that can be applied across all the industry. And personally, I see that in my day job, because when I graduate, I was looking at finance and auditing. And then I pivot to IT. Then I went into industry companies. But what is important, the single most important, is not your functional, whether you are into your auditor or you are IT, it's the business domain. So I just want to ask the audience here, the esteemed audience here, can a project manager manage all kinds of projects? Okay, like I gave examples, right? IT projects, energy transformation project, in the past, construction, mining projects. How many of you say yes, these life skills are transferable? Okay. I would say less than half. So the others not agreeable to the fact that you can transfer this, take your skills that you have in managing project. Because one of the core things when you deliver projects is that you meet the timeline, you meet the budget, you meet the scope. And that is what is successful for the business. Because every project have a start and end time. And by doing that, you help the business transform, because the project is supposed to be creating something for the business. And you help the business save time and money, which is most important. Now, if I were to ask a consultant like PwC, anyone from PwC here? No? Yeah, okay. The answer will be, it depends whether you can transfer, because consultants are very, very diplomatic, right? While it's transferable, but it also depends on the innate ability of the human mindset, whether you want to pick this up. And I've hired people from both sides of the coin. Someone who have functional experience but don't have the domain knowledge, and someone who has don't have to have the experience and the domain knowledge. And both sides, you can have successes. So it depends on the human mindset, the motivation of whether you want to actually succeed in learning the trade craft, I mean, whatever domain, whatever projects that you want to implement, and make it happen. So as we move towards the next phase, now we are opening up. Collaboration is very important, and we have good successes in seeing that, by collaborating and sharing information, sharing best practices with our peers in other chapters, with PMI Asia Pacific, we can bring the level up, to the next level, the level of knowledge, the level of experience up. And I think this is very important in a world where we don't know everything. Like my job, I'm supporting operational technology. If you don't know what is that, I can explain to you. But roughly, more or less industrial control systems, providing cyber security threat information. Okay, so the mixture of both worlds. And it's important to collaborate. And I find personally, if you collaborate with a lot of people, as in this room, you understand where they are, you get information, you get help. And most important, the key takeaway is what you want to do with that connection, right? To bring it to the next level. So on Singapore chapter side, we are staffed by a group of very passionate and dedicated volunteers. And one of the collaboration is that we are always seeking to improve the project management profession in Singapore through our partnerships. So RGP is a good partner to us. So they approached me and my directors. They want to train project managers because they have been doing projects, right? They are very experienced, but they need to get their experienced consultant certified. So another area for collaboration, I spoke to Ben this morning, is on the training side to train the labor unions on project management 101. So we were approached by the one of the ATP, NTUC Learning Hub, which is aligned to the NTUC labor union. But one of the things that we need to do is to execute, right? We can go on discussing, collaboration. We can go on discussing our ideas, our plans, but the ideation needs to be executed. And I think this is something that we as project managers, we are successful in doing that because we have a fixed scope. But however, one of the things that we can do to help our organization ourselves is to think beyond the scope, to come up with ideas on how to improve just beyond that. And lastly, I'd like to thank all the dedicated volunteers, the organizers of this event, Alicia and Clarice, together with the volunteers, Debbie, Leong, Aish, and all the people you see on the front desk, because they are not full-time staff, right? They are volunteers like myself. So I see a lot of familiar faces. I see a lot of unfamiliar faces. But over the course of these 2 days, we will get to know each other. And it's important for us, as I mentioned, I reiterate that we need to change our mindset. So it's not about the technical skills, but it's about how we bring the human element in ourselves so that we can create, we get ideation and also implement those ideas that will bring success to our organizations and ourselves personally. With that, I thank you and enjoy the rest of the day, and enjoy the next day as well, the next 2 days. Yeah, thank you. Okay.
Next up, I'd like to introduce my partner in crime, organizing this wonderful symposium for you. Clarice is the Regional Business Manager to APAC CEO for TP ICAP, a London-listed financial services group. Well known for her transformation and change management expertise, she is currently in charge of strategic programs in APAC and engages with seniors, management, and key stakeholders at all levels of the organization to effectively manage strategic transformation and redesign functional processes. As a certified PMP, a certified Scrum Master, a certified Scrum Product Owner, and a ProSci certified practitioner, she's passionate, as you can see, in bringing organizational strategy to life through successful implementation of large-scale projects. In addition to her role as a full-time job that she has, she's a trainer with the Institute of Singapore Chartered Accountants and CPA Australia. She volunteers with us at PMI Singapore Chapter and literally joined the Exco to deliver this experience for you. I'm so glad to announce Clarice on stage. Clarice Tan, the stage is yours. Go for it.
Hi, good morning, everyone. How are you all feeling this morning? Good? Thanks. So today, we're going to talk about, and in the next 2 days, we're going to talk about sustainability in project management, and I think you will hear a lot of this. So what I'm going to touch upon is on the social aspect of ESG. 2 things, one on self-perception, how our thoughts affect our actions. Secondly, on workplace inclusivity, how might we improve workplace so that we can give a positive environment for all. In preparing my speech, I was looking at what is diversity. I Googled, and I came across Merriam-Webster's definition of what disability is. Disability, a noun, a physical, mental, and cognitive or developmental condition that impairs or interferes with or limits a person's ability to engage in certain tasks, actions, or participate in typical daily activities and interactions. We also have a legal definition, inability to pursue an occupation, and a medical one that prevents someone from engaging in gainful employment. Now, when I looked at this definition, I felt I was unfairly treated. And, you know, it seems like I can't find a job, I can't interact with you, when in fact, today, I'm here co-chairing this symposium, interacting with all of you, having social interactions, and I'm gainfully employed. Thank you. And what intrigued me is this kids definition. How we tell our kids, how we think, and how we value people who are disabled. Not having satisfied with these definitions, I continued to Google. I came across Wikipedia, and I like the fact that they seem to say that it's more difficult for a person to do certain activities, or there might be less opportunities, but have equitable access within a given society. I love that they say equal opportunity is might be still out there for us. It's just limited. And everyone is unique. No one is perfect. And even if we are abled, we face certain difficulties as well. Let me invite you to think of a time where you felt disadvantaged, where you felt that you wanted to be included in certain activities. Perhaps some of you would have wanted to be in a popular school group, or saw some colleagues from afar that had some excellent activities that you wanted to join in. Did anyone give you the opportunity to do that? One such opportunity started when I was in primary school. Do you remember doing some of these tests, PE tests, the NAPTA tests? How many of you remember this? It's great. Just like you, I did the NAPTA test. All of them except the pull-ups. It was quite difficult to do pull-ups with one arm at the age of 9. And it was the only activity that I was exempted. Until one day, I was flipping through my primary school report card, quite excited to see how I performed in primary school. I came to the last page where my test results were. And to my surprise, I saw large words, exempted, across the years. Now let's think for a moment. Why would my teachers ask me to participate in the PE test when I'm clearly exempted? Was it because they wanted me to be physically fit and run that 2.4 kilometers? Or do that sit and reach for which I had no flexibility for? Or perhaps they just wanted to give me an opportunity to join in activities that were even physically challenging. What are the challenges? Some of you might ask. Being physically disabled, it was important to be adaptive. It is important to be adaptive because that was important for me to become independent. Adaptive behaviors include real-life skills. Things like grooming, getting dressed, cleaning. Imagine if I wanted to trim my nails without going to a nail salon. How would I do this? You know, when I was practicing my speech, in front of my friend the other day, when I came to this point, she had this blank look on her face. She said, "Yeah, how do you trim your nails?" I said, "I'll show you after the practice." It was also important for me to be creative and innovative in my daily activities. You know, when we were in school, we had home economics, and I had to do sewing. I had to be creative to do it with one arm. I had to do ECAs, sports activities like tennis and swimming, and even learn how to drive. I joined the tennis school team because there were people who said that I couldn't play tennis. I pushed myself hard. And in joining the tennis team, I had to play friendly games with other schools. So imagine me having to do an overhead serve, just like Pete Sampras, Serena Williams in the Australian and US Open. How would I do this with one arm? Clearly, I had to throw the ball up with one hand and simultaneously hit the ball over the other. I needed to be creative. And of course, a good coach helps. Today, I can play tennis and rally for 20 minutes or 30. So if my stamina, still works. I had to embrace change all the time because conditions and environments were never static, continuously adapting, being creative and innovative. The definitions we saw earlier had nothing positive about them. And it didn't allow an individual to think about the capabilities or the opportunities that were out there for them. Tucked away from the eyes of the public, being afraid with this world of opportunity that is out there for them, the limitless opportunities that are out there for them. I think that our job is not to shield them, but to prepare them well in life. My family prepared me well. They taught me to overcome my embarrassment by being brave, courageous, and being transparent. Just tell the truth. And on many occasions, I would meet people and they will ask me, "What happened to your arm?" Of course, at a young age, I was shy. But my family said, go and tell them, it's okay. And so I took a deep breath and told myself, be brave. Just tell the truth. And so I said, I was born like that. And then wait for reaction. I got some funny reactions, Oh, lucky you're not left-handed. Often, we don't want people to see who we are. We pretend to be something different so that we are acceptable. Doctors will always tell me, please get a prosthetic arm. They'll give me so many reasons why I needed one. But the prosthetic arm is really quite heavy, cumbersome, inflexible, and I could really do more without it. So perhaps, if we just accept ourselves for who we are, it will be good. And courage and transparency. So I said, I just want to let people to see me and accept me for who I am. Transparency is important. Transparency builds trust. It opens communication, builds relationships, and with open communication, and we can bring back diversity of ideas. Courage. Leadership needs courage. Salespeople need courage. Salespeople constantly get rejected before they close a deal. Project managers too need courage. We need courage to persevere because we need to make decisions on project planning, budget, and managing people. Some of you may have experienced irrational stakeholders with unachievable outcomes. It's understandable that we are fearful, but what if the idea of a courageous project manager is to stand into the best interest of our project? What if being fearful means that we'll ask for what the project needs in terms of resources and budget? I like what Malik did here. He said, when we increase our relationships with people, fear reduces and courage increases. If we take away courage, leadership and innovation is lost. The second thing I did to overcome this was self-development. My family thought with will and perseverance, I could overcome any condition. And so they enrolled me in a lot of classes, ballet, music, art, and all the development classes that you could find probably. And this went right way through my adult life. And that's why you see so many certifications. And you know what they say, whatever you do, give it 100% unless you're donating blood. I did 200% because I needed to achieve that 100%. And with time, I stretched myself. My internal perception changed. You see, with self-development, you stretch your internal boundaries. We become more flexible. I became better. I single-handedly transformed myself to what I am today. The second thing I want to talk about is workplace inclusivity. How might we improve the workplace. You know, I studied accountancy, not because of anything else, but because accountancy, I could be behind the computer and do the work. Sales, being a teacher, I'll be constantly stared at, asked questions, really not pleasant. And this is why workplace equality is important. Equality in the workplace ensures people are given equal opportunities and are well accepted for their differences. And of course, supportive managers are equally as important. Managers that give you an opportunity and to empower you to do more than what you think you can do. I'll tell you a story. When I was in PwC, having gone to Secondment in Manila, my boss at that time told me, Clarice, I want you to transfer your skills from PwC Manila, the knowledge that you shared, over to our shared service center in PwC Chengdu, the land of Mala hot pot. And as a woman, I thought, oh, it's a challenging environment. It's going to be lonely again. And we think immediately how unsafe everything might be. It was so easy to say no. What's more, my Chinese is C6. And I failed my oral. So I told my boss, sorry, I think you chose the wrong person. He sat across the table from me and he said, Clarice, if a Caucasian can live in China, so can you. And you studied Mandarin in school, didn't you? So I thought to myself, could I overcome all these challenges? What if I could overcome them? Imagine the things and benefits it could bring having this experience, running a shared service center for the first year in the setup. And there was an opportunity here. And I built myself along this journey, didn't I? And so I said yes. I made it happen. I assimilated into the culture. I didn't go to the Mala hot pot because the smell is so strong. To this day, when I walk past any steamboat, I sneeze. But I know how to play mahjong. Yes, I can play mahjong. And I adapted. I played Chengdu style mahjong with the locals in the beautiful tea houses in Chengdu. I adapted, used technology to my advantage. I used Google Translate, apps to read documents, so I could understand them. Eventually, I could still buy things from Taobao and get them shipped. You see, it is not the strongest that survive, but the one who is most responsive to change. Adaptation and transformation is the greatest human skill. Project managers who are resilient and adaptable are most likely to succeed in any organization. I'm sure none of us will want to be like a boiling frog. So why did I tell you this story? We can choose to participate in diversity, equality, and inclusion and have a contrasting organization full of innovation and value, or we can stagnate and leave people behind. I believe talent is here in our community. It's equally distributed to everybody. What is imbalance is the opportunity. We don't see people for who they are. We tend to be afraid because they look different from us. We don't need everybody to think alike. And that's why this symposium is a great idea. All of us here today are smarter than each of us. He knows what she doesn't know. And I like to think that we came here to learn more and take back more than what we came with. And of course, 16 PDUs, who doesn't want that? So 3 things of what we can do. 1, be sensitive in your communication. Understand who you are talking to and accommodate them. Accommodation is a simple skill. I think all of us do it. When you speak to someone different culture, you tend to slang or speak in a tone similar to them. That's accommodation. The second thing we can do is to educate, allow training, and be accessible for everybody. Training for technical skills, how to manage diverse team, collaborative skills, influencing skills, and how to lead inclusively. The third thing we can do is don't judge anyone till we walk in their moccasins. Understand their feelings and perceptions, and use that to guide you in your actions. With this, we can sow this into our organizational DNA as we become more aware of how people think and work together with different cultures. In conclusion, if you were to ask me, would I still want a prosthetic arm today? My answer would be no. My experiences, I have more experiences because of it, not in spite of it. I had people opening doors and giving me opportunities than those people putting lids on them. Perhaps we can educate our young to how to think and act and feel with people who are different from us. Because the foundations of how we think ultimately affects our actions in the workplace. What we think, we become. Now, I'll leave you with Lao Tzu's quote, watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become your habits. Watch your habits, they become your character. Watch your character, it becomes your destiny. Let's look inside ourselves, go out and create a better environment and destiny for all. Thank you.
Believe it or not, we have some questions, so don't go away just yet.
Excellent.
How would you relate your experience to what we need to do as a country and world to achieve the Sustainable Development Goal commitments?
Well, I think firstly, we may need to redesign jobs for the social aspect. Because, without redesigning our jobs, we will not be able to be inclusive. And ESG, without people and talent, we can't do it, right? So I think what we need to do is to improve ourselves, improve our workplace, have redesign of jobs. Also, like I said, give training to people, and so that we can develop our talent pool and help build a sustainable environment. And I think in the next 1 to 2 days, you will hear how, in fact, we do have certification for project managers in sustainability.
Thank you for that. What about when bosses execute their power? How can we overcome and work in a D&I setup?
I believe relationships are important. There are a lot of times that people say, I'm scared, and I hear a lot of this, because my boss said, that we want this to happen. But if you have built that relationship with your boss so that he could trust you, I think he would know and value your opinions. And he would know that if someone said, if Clarice said, I don't think this can happen within this time frame, or, I don't think we have enough budget. Build that trust, build that relationship with people. As I said, when we build relationships, our fear reduces. And when our fear reduces, we tend to have courage to stand up to our bosses to say, this is what the project needs. Trust me, I have experience in this, and what you're asking for is unachievable.
And we have one more, which is more of a statement. I think one of the questions we all need to ask ourselves is why, not just the how and what to do. So what is the key motivation force for doing what you do, and why? That would be interesting to know and shed some light on your dreams and identity.
My dreams? Well, my dreams is to become a speaker.
Well, here you are. Congratulations.
Yeah, but I hate public speaking. So being here today, thanks to Alicia and the support of my friends, I'm here today. This is difficult for me. This is difficult for me because I'm being looked at, and it's not something I'm comfortable with. So my dream is to really step forward. I've done a lot, you heard my profile and CV. I've done a lot, but I'm pushing myself further to give back to the community in ways that I can, and therefore, giving training in project management and help people develop their skills and speak, because messages get distributed from public speaking and sharing that knowledge with everyone. That's my goal. That's my dream moving forward in the next few years.
Thank you, Clarice. So let's look inside ourselves and go out and create a better destiny environment for all of us today.
Oh my God.
Thank you. Next up, we have Karen and Choong with our opening keynote. Very excited. Sustainability has become increasingly essential for organizations to remain relevant in today's changing world. Yet the task of embedding sustainability in corporate strategy and workplace practices has often met with the lack of effective implementation and buy-in across all levels. Sustainable transformation can only be achieved through behavioral change. In fact, this framework has led our speakers and organizations to be recognized for their success and sustainable transformation. Karen Leong is a global thought leader in influence, a successful entrepreneur. She leads an award-winning organizational development company called Influence Solutions, and with a global footprint, recently honored as the most influential leader in training and development in APAC. Choong is the co-founder and CEO of SelfDrvn Enterprise, provider of an award-winning employee experience platform that is powered by AI analytics. Behavioral science and gamification, a serial tech entrepreneur, has been a regular public speaker on the topic of entrepreneurship, gamification, and the future of work. Choong has been in the forefront of using digital technology to empower companies to drive growth and innovation with highly engaged, high-performing workshop. If you are ready to embrace this one process that will empower you to ignite any transformation, please join me in welcoming a warm PMI welcome to Karen and Choong.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I have to say we are excited to be here today. Now, because of two reasons. Firstly, the theme. The theme is sustainability. I mean, if you look at it, sustainability is the key to everything we do. And I know you know that no one in this room, in fact, no one in this world wants to leave behind a world that is less than the one that we inherited. Well, the second thing why we're so excited to be here, because we are addressing a room of project managers. And we firmly believe that each one of us is a project manager. Because we're all actively managing this project called life. So if you look at this, there are two things: sustainability and project management. In fact, these two things have so many nuances. Right? We could talk until the cows come home. But the thing is, we thought that today we will focus on one aspect, the one aspect that can make and break any project. In fact, the one aspect that can be the strongest pillar or the weakest link. And that is people. Because I'm sure you will also agree that in most workplaces, more people think that it is more challenging to manage people than to manage the technical aspects. Do you agree? I see a lot of nods. We're all in agreement here. And more people also think, oh God, how do I crack the code of engaging people, motivating people, inspiring people to act, managing conflict, getting people to get buy-in? God, it is a muddle. And the reason why we have this problem with people, I mean, there are a lot of reasons, but I think there are two major ones. Firstly, how we are wired. Because, human beings are feeling creatures who think, not thinking creatures who feel. We are driven by our emotions. Then logic comes second. So let's look at how does emotions hijack us. One example is we are driven by instant gratification, sometimes to our long-term detriment. And it is not surprising because the human beings, we have been wired in the last 200,000 years to focus on survival of ourselves and our species, right? We're only thinking, okay, find food, find shelter, mate. So that is our reptilian brain acting. And it is not surprising, and this is the sobering case in point. All of us, we have known about the dire impacts of climate change for decades. The scientists have been sounding the alarms for decades, but there has been massive inaction on a global scale. And the day has come today. We only have 8 years left. 8 years left to halve our global emissions so that we could halve it by 2030. Because if we do that, we have a fighting chance of reaching net zero by 2050. But these 8 years, right, are all we have left. Because if we do not act powerfully, it is going to be irreversible. We would not be able to reverse the impacts of a climate catastrophe. So now let's look back. Let's go back to human behavior. This is a big problem. And of course, it has led to the statistics, sobering statistics, because all of you already know that 22% of all projects succeed, which means that 78% of projects who aim to change behavior with the best of intentions fail. So this is a big problem. How do we solve it? But I want to share with you that every problem has a flip side. Every problem also has an opportunity. And we think this can be an amazing opportunity. Because if we crack the code, on motivation, the two aspects of motivation, the human species have proven that we can evolve and adapt very quickly. So what are these two aspects? In fact, these two aspects are what brought us together. You know, we at Influence Solutions, where our expertise is on organizational change and human behavior, and SelfDrvn, their expertise is on corporate gamification and technology. We came together to address this one problem, to crack the code, to address two aspects of motivation. Number one, intrinsic motivation. Because if people, all of us, we are inspired to act if it taps into a deeper feeling. Either we enjoy the process, we feel that we learn and grow, or we have a higher purpose. The second aspect of motivation is extrinsic motivation. Again, it taps in very nicely with our immediate gratification. Because if we see immediate rewards, we will start acting. So how can we then create a system whereby people take action, and they are rewarded, there is an immediate payoff, and there is an ecosystem to keep people going until behaviors become habits, habits become culture. So this is the opportunity that we're going to be exploring today. And we're going to be doing so by sharing with you a process, and it's called the Ignite process. And for this, I'm going to hand it over to Munch. This is the short form Munch, to share more with you.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Karen, for the opening. My name is Choong, but my friends call me Munch. You can call me Munch, no problem. Right? So I just want to say, in my past life, I was a project manager for maybe 5 years. I managed IT projects and all that. So I get you. I get what you're going through. And the other thing I want to say is, I have presented in other conferences in 3 different continents, but this is the first time I'm co-presenting with Karen. And the feeling is like, imagine you learn ballroom dancing, and the first time you do ballroom dancing, you do it in front of 600 people. So please forgive us if I accidentally step on Karen's toes, and I don't know where to put my hands and things like that. It's a new experience to me, but we do it because we believe, by doing this, we are bringing more value to you, right? So let me just continue from where Karen has left off to talk about what is this whole idea of Ignite that we're talking about. And to do that, let me share with you a story. Last year, we actually did some work with a global supply chain company. And this company approached us because they have a few challenges. The first challenge is that actually it's a good problem to have because business was good, because of COVID, e-commerce booming, and so on and so forth. Their business was growing tremendously. As a result, I think they have people working in the warehouse, people working in transportation, people working at home that are working very hard to help the company grow. And they work long hours, and as a result, they see more people suffer from burnout, from low motivation, from disengagement. People feel that they are disconnected from their colleagues, from their team, from the company, from purpose. And that is one problem that they have. The second problem they have is, when all these things happen, they were busy hiring people to join the company to grow the team. But people who joined the team also felt like they were disconnected, from the company, from the team, and purpose and meaning. And as a result, they have challenges in training, retaining people, and onboarding people and so on. As a whole, when you get a lot of new people into the organization, unless they are properly trained and onboarded, your productivity suffers. So that's the second challenge. The third challenge is that as a logistics global supply chain company, I think as part of the nature of the business, they generate a significant carbon footprint. So for them, sustainability is important. They have to think about how do they contribute to sustainability to future-proof their business. Sustainability is not just a nice slogan, but it is for them to ensure that their business continue to survive and thrive. And there's a saying with sustainability. Somebody said the biggest risk to Earth and the future of mankind is when everybody thinks somebody else will take care of sustainability. So they want to involve every single employee in this exercise, but it's a challenge because people are distributed. They're driving trucks, they're working in the warehouse, they're working from home. How do you engage people in sustainability? So we took them through a journey of transformation. We spoke to their senior leadership and supervisors on the ground. And in a short 3 months, we managed to elevate their engagement and boost their performance, and also help them create a growth-oriented culture of sustainability that involves everybody in the organization. So how did we do that? So the first thing we did was really to go and talk to them and understand what are their goals. Their goals are very clear, related to the challenges that they shared with us. And we asked them, so what behavior will help you achieve these goals? What individual actions will help you achieve these goals? And what we did was that we translate all these behaviors into daily quests or challenges for every single employee, and they can be behaviors or actions in productivity, in self-care, in learning and sustainability. I can give you examples, of this behavior. We want employees to take care of themselves. What are the behaviors? We will say, walk 10,000 steps a day. That's a behavior. Or spend 1 hour a day to take care of yourself. Do whatever you like that makes you feel better about yourself. So those are behaviors, right? Behavior could be, hey, we have a video about sustainability. Please spend 5-10 minutes to watch this video, then answer a quiz. Then maybe share something that you do at home that actually support or practice sustainability. Simple actions like that. The second thing we do is that we want to make sure that people learn these behaviors. So we nudge them, using an app to tell them, hey, here are your challenges. Here are the things that you can look at. And if you complete them, you earn points and badges. It's as simple as that. And it's immediate, right? And the next thing you can do is if you earn points and badges, you can reward yourself. If you hit all your targets, you do all the right things this week, you earn yourself a cup of Starbucks coffee. You can go and chill with your friends. Last but not least, we also created what we call tribes and ecosystem, where there's an online community for people to connect socially, to share, to support each other. An example being, we talked about, okay, how do you take care of yourself? We created a game where to say, hey, if you share a photo or video of you doing an activity for self-care, share it in the online community with a special hashtag. Immediately, we recognize and reward you with points, right? So the fun thing was that people started doing that. People working from home, working in the warehouse, driving, in their free time, they do something to take care of themselves, they share. And people were surprised to see their bosses playing with their kids. Suddenly they realize, hey, my boss is a human. Fun, right? So those are examples, right? So there are leaderboards to see who walked the most in the company. So even if you're a newcomer, you walk into the company, maybe the first day of work, you're onboarded working from home. But just by going into the platform, you could see a lot of things going on. You could see who is active, you could see who is playing with their children, who's doing yoga, and who is on top of the leaderboard. So that's what we did, right? So we launched this application, after 1 month talking to them, and in 90 days, they have seen visible improvement. I think number one is team productivity KPI went up 20%, right? And when they run their annual engagement surveys, there are improvements in terms of employees who say the company is an employer of choice. The engagement score has gone up 20 over percent. An increase of 27% of employees say they're proud because they're contributing to society. And then last but not least, 75% of the participants said, we feel that our physical and mental well-being has improved. All this in the middle of COVID, right? So all these results actually help the company towards their objective of becoming a great place to work themselves, right? So that's I would say, this is something that we do day in, day out, to help our clients to do this. But the clients were really surprised that such result can be achieved in 90 days. So I think from now on, I would like to hand over to Karen to really dissect for you what is this whole process of Ignite and how do we actually take our clients through this 3-step process. Karen?
Yeah, thank you so much, Manj. I mean, that was a really cool story. And you would have noticed that there are 3 clear steps in the Ignite process, as Manj says. See, the very first step is IG, where you identify goals and behaviors, and then move on to the second step, where you use nudging and incentivizing to motivate people. And the third step is you build a flourishing tribe and ecosystem to really make this a new reality. So we're going to go a bit of a deeper dive into each of these 3 steps. So let me just share more about the very first step first. Identify goals and behaviors. Because all of you know already that every project, needs to start off with a very clear goal. But it's important to have the second step, right? Have a goal that's clear, have a goal that is inspiring, and then convert it into desired behaviors. Because only then, when you have desired behaviors, do people know what they need to start demonstrating, and for the leaders to continue supporting. So again, you are creating that ecosystem. But I thought I'd just share with you a story of how this manifested. So in fact, there was one time I was coaching a CEO, and this CEO was a global superstar in this organization. He had held several very important roles across different countries. But then he was brought into Singapore to lead the Singapore operations so that they could get certain problems fixed. They could get certain things changed. And during the first coaching session, when I met him, I noticed that he was looking very tired and stressed. So I asked him, how's everything going? He says, wow, there are just so many problems to handle, right? It's really taking a toll on me. And that's when I asked him, right, let's just imagine, right? If you put these problems aside, what is it that you would want to see? And then he said, wow, if all my problems were put aside, I see our company being a great place to work, being a center of excellence, and having people who are engaged and motivated. So he looked a little bit more energized when he had this very clear goal. Then I asked him, so, with these goals in mind, what do you need to start seeing people demonstrate to know that you are meeting those goals? And he evolved a couple of actions, very clear actions, in order to hit that goal. Now, here's the thing. When we left the coaching session, he had clarity and a clear action plan. So I was not surprised. We were not surprised that after a couple of months, when I met him again, not only was he looking younger, right, he also shared how his leadership team was more energized because now they had a clear goal and they had clear behaviors that they could start helping people to demonstrate. And within 6 months, they were on their way to being a great place to work and a center of excellence. Now, why did I share this story with you? Because it's really to emphasize that, clear goals need to lead to behaviors, and the behaviors actually should be broken down to, there are 3 aspects of actions. I'm going to invite Munch to click. They should be simple, repetitive, and visible. Because you see, if the behaviors are simple, people are more likely to act on them. And if they are repetitive, right, people will find it easy to do it over and over again. And if it's visible, that behavior will be able to influence a lot of people. So I'll just give you an example. There are companies, maybe I'll just give you 3 examples. The first company who had a problem of non-performance. And we helped the company come up with an SRV action. And they said, very simple, we want to increase the number of one-on-ones. So if leaders started to have one-on-one sessions with their direct reports, just 15 to 30 minutes once a month, that would become a behavior that's easy to sustain. But it's amazing. Not only performance management increased, but trust, empowerment, accountability increased. Now, another second example, we have companies that tell us that there is a lack of collaboration. And, again, people tend to work in their silos, depending on their departments. People don't even intermingle. So one simple suggestion that worked very well for our clients is they incentivize people to just have coffees with people from the other functions, coffees with people from across leadership levels. But you again be amazed that such a simple action sparked innovation, collaboration, and a trust culture. Right? Yet another one, organizations who wanted to actually increase more diversity of thought, more innovation. Because I'm sure that you might have heard it before where some leader says, my people don't speak up. I hire all these people from a different industry or all these Gen Z people, but they do not speak up in meetings. So a simple action could be, during brainstorming sessions, invite the youngest person to speak first and keep at it so you get diversity of views. So I'm just going to encourage you to, this very first step, think about what kind of SRV actions can you start having when you identify your goals. And with that, Munch is going to take us on to the second step, nudging and incentivizing.
Great, thanks, Karen. So now that goals and behaviors are clear, right? The next thing is, how do you inspire and excite people to take action, right? And project managers, you all know change management is hard, right? You can plan and plan and plan, whether people take action or not. You pray, right? So, but we have a better way than praying. It's called nudge and incentivize, right? So how do we do that? I think what we do is we use technology to do that, because today we live in a different world where everybody owns a smartphone. Why can't we leverage that? We have gone through digital transformation where a lot of things at work is automated. There is data. Why can't we do that? Why can't we use those, right? So we tap into the data sources in the organization that we work with. If you're in manufacturing, we tap into your MES. If we tap into your SAP. Project managers, you're probably very familiar with this other software that a lot of you use, right? Or for learning purpose, we tap into LinkedIn Learning, right? And what we do is, we bring this data, on a regular basis into our system, and we translate all these data and behaviors into daily, weekly, monthly challenges for the team. For example, maybe as project managers, you want your people to be agile. What does agile mean? Oh, maybe break big tasks into smaller tasks and try to complete, parts of it every day, right? So that's a behavior, for example, right? But what we do is that we present these very clearly defined behaviors in the app to say, do this, by this time, by following these 2 steps, 3 steps, 4 steps, and then you earn points and badges automatically. Then the moment people do something and they see an immediate feedback to tell them, great, you have leveled up, you have earned points, you are now the guru, you know, people get excited, you know, then they will go back and say, okay, can I do more of this, right? We basically push that further by saying, you know, beyond, you know, feeling that sense of accomplishment and pride, we also want to reward you tangibly. That's where we get really creative, you know, where with technology, we allow the points to be translated into vouchers that they can redeem. As I said in the earlier example, do great work throughout the week, from home, from wherever. But that enables you to earn yourself a Starbucks voucher. Then Friday night, go and chill. Right? So no need, manager no need to do anything. System take care. Right? And then last bit is, as we said, you know, we definitely can use nudge and incentive to trigger people to start taking action. But it is even more effective when there is a community to support them, right? When there is something like a social network of sorts to, you know, in a way, let people show off. Like many of you probably, when you earn your PMP certification, you probably show your badge on LinkedIn, right? So same thing, right? Okay. And the other thing that we do to reduce friction in all these things, you know, these are, you know, if you try to do all these things manually, it's challenging. It's a lot of work tracking and, you know, communicating and all that. We embedded our software into work devices, work software. Microsoft Teams. Even in the case of somebody working in a warehouse, our software is actually embedded into the scanner they use, you know, so that they receive nudges on their scanner. And the next thing we do is, you know, we allow or invite employees to install the software in their personal devices, iOS, Android devices, so that on their long train ride home, they could be looking at it to say how well they do today, and oh, now I can get my Starbucks voucher, you know, on the way home, kind of thing, right? The last bit is we also take care of, you know, multi-generational, diverse audience, where some people may say, you know, technology is too hard, you know. For some of these workers, sometimes part-timers, we have chatbots that runs on WhatsApp and Line. They don't have to download anything. As long as the company has their mobile number, you know, and the company chatbot will send a chatbot to reach out to them, to nudge them, to keep them informed, to get them involved. So by doing this, I think we're able to scale this behavioral change to a large audience with very little effort from IT, from HR, from project managers, or from employee themselves. Let me give you an example of something we did that it's very interesting, you know, that will give you a fresh perspective. We work with a transportation company that has 50,000 workers. They are bus drivers, taxi drivers, train operators, technicians in the depot, 50,000 people, you know. And the challenge the company want to address is that they want to create, again, a culture of safety, sustainability, customer service, and all that. And they are a very sophisticated company. They have a lot of data. They have telemetry in the vehicles and all that, you know. But for many years, they use this data and report to do what they call management by exception. You know, that's a fancy consulting word for you use data to punish people, right? So they do it for many years, and then they realize behavior don't change. So they come to us and say, how can we do better than that? So what we did was, I think number one is we asked the workers, you know, through our interactive polling system to ask, what motivates you? What makes you want? What makes you come to work and work hard? You know, and you realize, then we realize, you know, there's a large demographic of their workers who are foreigners. You know, they come from Nepal, India, Pakistan, the Philippines to work there. And their main motivation is family, to provide a better life for the family. So what we did was, two things. Number one is that we created collaborative games for them. We said there's a weekly challenge. If this week, no accident, the whole team get points. You know, if this week customer feedback is above 4.8 over 5, everybody get points. So performance is no longer whether I do well or not, because my performance now affects the team, you know. So they will encourage each other to do better because it's their common interest to do better now, number one, right? The second thing we did was, once you earn these points, you know, we give you a marketplace of reward vouchers that you could redeem and send to your family. So this client is actually in the Middle East, you know. So what we have enabled them to do is to say, a worker from the Philippines, after doing well for the whole week, will earn enough points to redeem a Shopee voucher that he can send to his family in the Philippines for his son's birthday this week. Right? So you ask yourself, will that motivate you? Okay?
Thank you. I'm so engrossed just listening to the story again. So with this, now that we understand the first step, identifying goal and behaviors, the second step, nudging incentives, and third step, we're going to build into understanding more about the power of tribes and creating an ecosystem. Because there are three things that we need to be very clear that work for us. Firstly, like what Munch says, we are all communal creatures. And we all want to be included. And when it is more than just an individual win, but it is a team win, we actually are more motivated to win together. So that's the first one. Then the second thing is that human beings also desire working towards a bigger purpose. I mean, a lot of Gen Z studies show that they are motivated not just by money, but they want to work for an organization that makes a bigger difference. And sometimes they're willing to work for less money than the competition. But I believe this is not just a Gen Z thing, it is a basic human need. And so when we create a culture where everybody is working towards a higher purpose, there is a sense of collaboration and less competition. And the third thing I wanted to point out is the power of the 3% rule. You know, history shows that it only takes 3% of the population to engage in non-violent, peaceful process to transform the entire country. Well, we have seen this in so many examples over and over again, all the way from the People's Power Revolution that overturned the Marcos Rule. We have seen that in Gandhi's Salt March. We have seen that in Nelson Mandela's against the apartheid. You know, what works in society also works for our organizations. It only takes 3% of people who are actively engaged to really change things. So if you look at a small company of, say, 1,000 people, you only need 30 catalysts to start the ball rolling. And I just want to share with you an example. We were working with a financial services organization. So they have thousands of highly motivated financial planners. But then the C-suite told us is that their growth is slowing and their people are not collaborating because each agency, they are competing with one another. Nobody wants to share their secrets because they view the other agency as a competitor. They were saying that we need to bring people together because we need to win at the marketplace together. It's not internal competition that matters. It's taking on the world and making a difference. So we started with the 3% rule, where we started to encourage people to start sharing secrets, highlight successes, and we gave these people what we call thought leader badges, where people were just incentivized, whether it's through social media or organizing sharing sessions. But what happened is that when we started having these thought leader badges, more people started to look up and see the thought leaders who were getting more credibility. They were getting more recognition. They were invited to more large-scale marketing events. They appeared in the company's, publicity. They literally win more by giving more. and that alone shaped the organization. So with this, I'm going to invite you really to just take a look at the entire Ignite process one more time. Yes.
Right. So thank you so much, Karen, for wrapping this up. I think I just want to add on to what Karen has said about connecting to higher purpose. Back to the first example that I shared about with the global logistics company, they actually give employee points for self-care, playing with your kids, walking 10,000 steps a day. And when we brainstormed with them, we actually came up with a better idea where they say that for every hour you spend on self-care or every 10,000 steps you walk, the company will donate to a tree planting charity to basically contribute back to society in terms of sustainability and green. So that actually boosted the participation and the engagement of the employees, because they feel like they are not just taking care of themselves, but through their individual actions that are simple, repeatable, and visible, they are also contributing to society, right? So that is the power of when you put all these things together, you can really transform and sustain a culture.
And with that, I hear that we have time for 5 minutes of Q&A, because we love and welcome any of your questions, and we hope we'll be able to address some of them.
Actually, there are a lot of questions. So let's try to get through the most interesting ones. One is interested to know the techniques of managing people aspect in projects, strongest and weakest point.
So I hear the question is, what are the strongest and weakest points of managing people in any project? If I would just take this on first, if you look at this directly maps into the IG process, identify goal and desired behavior. And here's the thing. Once you identify behavior, we need to know this about human beings. We will only act if we do two things. Number one, we see the value of taking that action. Number two, if we understand the risk of not taking. Right? So I think a lot of times leaders, we might actually push people to take an action, but unless we help them to realize the value and the risks and fully internalize them, people are not going to act. So I think that usually is the key game changer in many projects. So I hope I answered that question.
Hopefully, if this wasn't answered, let us know in another question. So if there are no funds available for events, awards, and incentives to give to people, what are ways that we can still motivate them?
I think definitely recognition, even without rewards, it's a powerful motivator. And you'll be surprised to hear that research shows that actually peer motivation is more motivating than managers' motivation. If you create that environment and facility for people to recognize each other, that already it's a powerful motivator. That's the first thing I want to say. The second thing I want to say is yeah, we all know, right? We are project managers. Budget is always the problem, right? So one of the things that we do with our client is, at the end of the day, these are not cost centers we're talking about. We're not giving away free benefits to employees. Ultimately, all this has a financial return to the company. Take, for example, when we work with, the global supply chain company, we figured out that just by reducing overtime per employee per month by 1 hour, the operating cost of all these rewards and recognition and technology pay for itself, right? If you're able to go and present to your stakeholders to say, this is what I want to do, this is the outcome I want to achieve, and this outcome will translate to what kind of financial returns to the company, will you fund this? 1 hour reduction of overtime per employee per month is super achievable. there is no reason for your management to say no. The other thing you can do is to say, let's pilot this. Let's take one team, one department, and do this. If it works, it scales, right? The question is, what's the risk of doing this for one department? But if it works, what's the return?
Okay, thank you for that. Since you have your microphone already up, how sustainable is gamification? And how long can we use games until we get them to be self-motivated?
Good. I think there is a common misconception of gamification. You know, a lot of people say gamification equal games, and then they focus on the animation, the sound, the graphics of, you know, the whole solution. The answer is no, right? I think where games have succeeded very well is games are always designed for the user or the player, you know, and enterprise systems and business applications, if designed that way, we will not have a problem engaging people. Where people struggle is, you know, it's as if like you're designing games, but the intention of the game is not for the user, but for the company, right? So after a while, you know, I think it becomes very hard to sustain. So that's the first thing. That there has to be a change in how you look at how these things are designed, right? I think the second thing is, as I said, don't take gamification as a standalone project. Meaning, a lot of times people just say, "Oh, I'm just going to gamify a learning." You know, when people go in, you know, they had fun for 3 days, they leave it, the game is over, right? So where we are doing here is what we call enterprise gamification, corporate gamification. We said there are so many behaviors that will, you know, help the person, help the company. Why can't we gamify it? You know, the challenge is maybe complexity of doing this, but now, you know, with something like Ignite, you know, these things can be a new challenge can be configured in 5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, this is absolutely, I think a lot of times we need to think holistically because we all have KPIs, whatever your KPI is, increase revenue, reduce complaints, or increase profits. But those are all lag indicators. It's really how do we then build lead indicators, which are all the SRV, simple, repetitive, visible actions. And also make sure that the actions are in sync with, say, your core values, your leadership competencies, your performance management process, your performance appraisal. Right? Because it has to link with, say, even performance appraisal, because that is when you truly have a holistic and aligned whole solution. So I think that is very important. But it can be made really simple to every single employee in the organization.
Yeah, just to add on, you know, we have clients who have been running our system for 5 years. So if the interest really waned and all that, we wouldn't have a 5-year client.
We do have time for one more. So this one may be a little, when I looked at it, I was like, oh, maybe a little controversial. So I think we really have to ask this one. These solutions seem a little bit maybe old-fashioned, and they don't necessarily work for the younger generation. So why wouldn't we just give them money to let them work better?
No,
please enlighten us.
I want to just share with you just one thing. You know, the Carrot Institute, there is actually a Carrot Institute headquartered in the US. They did a study that showed that people, unless you give employees more than $1,000 each time, right, it's not going to change any behavior. I mean, because people use it to pay credit card debts, or they use it for some expenses. So in the end, the reality is companies do not have unlimited budgets. How can you then ignite real deeper motivation and create a system where people can be their best selves? So I'm going to hand over to Munch.
Yeah, I agree with the earlier speaker, Clarice, right, where relationship matters. If as project managers, as company, all you want to do is to engage people with money, we're being very transactional. So when we're being very transactional, please don't be surprised if people leave the company because of better pay. right? So number one is relationship. We have to build social connectedness and relationship through some of these engagement activities. Because for a lot of them, what we have learned is, according to Karen, $1,000 will change behavior. But what we have learned through our engagement and research and all that is in Singapore, $5 will change behavior if you do this. The second thing that I would challenge back whoever asked the question is, through our data, the most engaged people are actually the younger one. The younger demographic of employees.
Thank you so much for that. And thank you for this inspiring keynote that has helped to ignite our imagination and giving us a process we can use to create real sustainable change.
Now, one thing, we are going to share one last thing.
All right, go for it.
Just to wrap up, because, you see, this Ignite process is not just a project management skill or even just a corporate skill set. It actually is life-changing, even in our daily lives. And I thought of just sharing this very simple story, because for those of you who have children or have been children before, you know how hard it is to get kids to act in a certain way. So I've got two young kids, a daughter who is 5 years old and a son who is turning 7. It has been a constant battle to get them to brush their teeth. First thing in the morning and the last thing at night, okay? And yeah, and the thing is that, so there was one day I realized, why don't I use the Ignite process? We do it for our clients. Why don't I do it for the most important people in my life? And that is when I started to think. I said, okay, let me start with IG. How do I identify my goals and desired behaviors? Very, very simple. My goal is wake up in the morning, brush their teeth independently, and at night. What are the desired behaviors? The desired behaviors is for them to brush all 20 teeth, up and down, front and back, for 2 minutes independently without parental supervision. It's very, very simple. Now that IG is done, I moved on to nudge and incentive. So that is when I started to look, how can I find rewards that give them immediate payoff? And that is when I found this app. I mean, all of you know how amazing Pokemon is. I only started to know when I had children. And so I found an app that did 3 things, right? Number one, it really made brushing fun because it showed them all the process of brushing, and you get to kill monsters while you're brushing. So they cover every bit of the mouth. The second thing it does amazingly is that it surreptitiously takes photos, because you know the phone is like a mirror. It captures photos as they are brushing, and at the end of it, they get to decorate the photos here with all the wonderful stickers. And the third thing it does so well is that at the end of the 2 minutes, you get a ball and you get to see what surprise Pokemon characters you get. So this worked very well. And thirdly is we need to have a tribe. Now face it, I'm not going to have more children. So I got to make do with just 2, but I realized 2 is really enough. So I created a tribe, and the thing is that they love comparing how many Pokemon characters do they have in their account. So they motivate each other, and it's just amazing how things have changed. Now, what's really amazing is that things have changed, but what is the real tragedy is that every morning when they get up, instead of saying, "Mommy, I love you," they say, "Mommy, can I brush my teeth?" But what it really shows us is the power of the Ignite process. That if you are facing any problems to do with people, remember the Ignite has a solution. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Truly appreciate it. Thank you so much for virtual audience for paying attention. Debbie will take care of you and tell you about the practicalities. And for people here in Marina Bay Sands, we do have the lunch at the morning tea break. Literally, you can exit that way, head towards the natural light, and you will find morning refreshments. If you pre-ordered halal food, there are bento boxes especially for you, and the no pork, no beef are also as halal, because we want to make sure that you are well taken care of. So please look for your bento box instead if you cannot. If you cannot, but there's a big chance that it's actually the halal would be during lunch hour actually. But just please remember. Also, one more thing, we have a boot camp on Sunday with speaker Alex. She's actually in the back. She's gonna stay. She came from Australia. She's gonna stay with us in Singapore, and she's gonna run this full day workshop. But we have to close registration at 1 p.m. because we need to pre-order the food for you. So go to our website if you still want to join us for a full day of really intense outcomes thinking and really change your mindset as well. Register by 1 p.m. today, all right? So thank you so much. Good morning, and enjoy your break.
For those of us on the virtual meeting, we will break and come back at 11. Get yourself a drink, get yourself a snack, stretch your legs. You will be back in the virtual meeting space with the tables. Click on a table, network, talk to others at your table, and we will be back at 11. I've also placed in the chat box a way to get in touch with the speakers. If you would like to do that, the links are there. Thanks so much.